Growing up, I enjoyed working on small engines and getting them running or diagnosing a problem correctly. They're like a puzzle that you know has all the pieces, but have to figure out the right order to put them together. In recent years, I've dreamt of being able to rebuild a motorcycle from start to finish, and this senior's project felt like the perfect opportunity. Hi, I'm Alex Anderson, and for my senior project, I rebuilt a motorcycle. When I decided to do this project, I knew I was going to need a mentor and somebody to help guide and teach me the process. A lot of work and knowledge goes into rebuilding motorcycles, and it's important to have the right tools and resources when working on them. Nobody is better for the job than Bill Hislop and his son Jack. Bill Hislop is a Bow native, and you can drive by the Hislop Garage nearly 365 days a year and find Bill and any of his many visitors working on projects, talking about life, or just enjoying each other's company listening to music. Bill is a motorcycle enthusiast and knows nearly everything about them, and what he doesn't know, his son Jack can cover for him. When I first went to Bill, we discussed what ideas I had and what bike I wanted to rebuild. I decided I wanted to build a cafe racer, which is a style of minimal, sleek-looking bikes with lowered handlebars, no fenders, and a short, rounded tail. Honda CBs are a common model used to turn into cafe racer builds because they are a lightweight bike, not necessarily optimized for comfort. Bill was thrilled with this idea, and we started the search for used motorcycles immediately. Having a low budget for the build makes it difficult, but at the time I was searching, there was a lot of inventory on the market. After looking for a few days, I found a bike that sparked my interest and was very affordable. I contacted the seller and told him about my project plans and drove out to Freiburg, Maine to pick it up. The first thing we did was put the bike up on the stand and take pictures of everything, and I mean everything. These pictures would help us remember how the bike was put together when it's in a million parts, and they came and helped a whole lot. After this, step one was getting the bike in running condition. My motorcycle turned over, meaning it was not seized, and had a strong spark straight from the previous owner, so I was confident it could run with minimal work. Gasoline, over time, goes bad and solidifies inside the entire fuel delivery system. When motorcycles are not properly stored, which requires you to clean and replace parts that have been soaked in bad gas for too long. We pulled the carburetors and all of them we pulled the carburetors off and put them in an ultrasonic cleaner, which is an awesome machine that I had access to in Bill's garage. That's the top right picture. While reconstructing the carburetor, we had a lot of difficulty connecting the original spring, which synchronized the carbs together. The original spring was broken, but we wanted to have the carbs put behind us. So Bill and I sat there holding needle nose pliers, trying to manually wrap and spring the hook around the lever for well over an hour. And every time we got close to hooking it into place, it would spring off and we'd be back to square one. I left the garage that day in defeat, but I also knew there was no way Bill would sit in that garage with a puzzle like that and not find a solution. About an hour and a half later, I got a text from Bill, a photo of the piece we were trying to put the spring on with a zip tie on it. A simple solution that just needed some head scratching and a few adult beverages to figure out. Soon after, we remounted the carburetor and discovered the bike ran. We also had to revamp the exhaust and exhaust seals. The exhaust seals ensure the exhaust has an airtight seal to the engine and will not leak, and will carry all the sound and exhaust out the tips. The exhaust tip is chrome, and we wanted to keep it that way, and spray the faded and rusted black paint with a matte black paint. I used a wire drill attachment to shave it down and taped off the chrome to lay a nice new coat of matte paint. Over time, the chain and sprockets wear down on motorcycles and cause the chain to slip or ride rough, so we removed the rear wheel to replace the front and rear sprocket as well as the chain. This really cleaned up the bike by replacing worn rusted metal with shiny new and only took a few hours. Throughout the entire bike, there was aluminum to be polished on the motor, side covers, and other various parts. Polishing aluminum is time-consuming, but it's one of the easiest ways to transform the look of the bike. Since the bike was unmaintained for so long, the aluminum began to corrode and lose its shine, so I sanded down the aluminum and steel wool and buffed it with a polish, giving it a whole new look. Working on the gas tank was a big task for me to do. Bill made it clear painting and bodywork was not his strong suit, so I decided to take it into my own hands and work on it at my house on the side. I was split on if I should do it all myself or seek out some steps, so I reached out to a local motorcycle shop and asked what a quote for some body filler and a paint job would be. They quoted me $700, and in shock, decided to do it myself. Looking back on it, I don't think $700 was enough. It's very difficult working with Bondo and getting a symmetrical and smooth look without standing too high or low in uniform. It took a lot of time, but I got to a point where I wasn't able to spend more time on it, and I had to call it good and start with the paint. The paint and clear coat is pretty simple. Just focus on going slow and make sure the paint and metal don't get too cold. So I was doing it in the winter, so I'd always bring it inside and put it next to the fire or something. It was a lot of work. The wiring was one section of the bike we knew was going to need some attention. We first wanted to flip the voltage regulator and fuse box mounted on the rear frame upside down so the new seat would sit flat. We also had to wire the ignition key and the tail and headlight. We got the wiring functional, but in the future I hope to clean it up more and invest in a smaller battery that would be mounted out of sight. It's easy to see some of the bigger changes we made to the bike, such as changing the seat or painting the tank, but there's a huge amount of work that goes into the smaller touches that really bring the bike together. This included installing the Honda Wings emblem on the gas tank, which was actually repurposed from a different tank, sanding and painting discolored and rusted metal parts, replacing the front shock dust seals and installing new grips, and black clutch and brake levers. I'm very happy with how the bike turned out and learned so much about working on bikes and on machines in general. Bill and Jack know a lot about working on projects like this, and I can't thank them enough for how much they helped me and taught me during this project. I look forward to continuing to improve this bike, and I'm glad to have the grunt work behind me. And this is where it is at now. Thank you for listening.
Any questions?
Sarah?
Do you think you're going to work on another bike in the future?
I definitely want to in the future, but for now I still have a lot of work to do on this that I can get through with. But yeah, I look forward to being able to work on bikes on the side in the future. Cool.
Is it for sale?
Oh, not yet.
I noticed you're not dressed.
Bill.
When are you coming back to finish it?
I'm all done with the project, man. I don't know. It's your problem now.